you had an entrepreneurial spirit long before I think you knew you were an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think, and for me, it was,
Look, I'm not in problem mode. I don't have time for that crap. Here's a problem. Now that it's identified, that's fantastic. Now we move on from there.
Right.
because customer retention's impossible. That's why,
Yeah.
when it's one customer.
Yeah.
But when you're doing B2B, I love the B2B side because you have one person with the buying power of 5,000 people or 2,000 people. I think it's so much better. And you can develop that relationship with that one person, and the stroke of their pen is so much stronger than that one person entering their debit card on your website.
One of the most inspirational things that I ever heard from anybody came from you. And I know you're like just getting ready to crack a joke. However, like truthfully, when I was going to college, you had said something to me that meant just absolutely everything to me, because dealing with self-worth and all that. And you go, dude, out of everybody that I know, I am most interested in watching what you end up doing in life. And I was like, what? And you're like, dude, like, you're going to do amazing things. And it meant so much to me to hear that somebody, because I definitely looked up to you, like with your business connections, your ability to talk to people, like all of those things, you held characteristics of the man that I always wanted to be. And then to hear that from you, I was like, holy shit, wait, there's actually people noticing my existence out here.
Yeah, I think you have so I've always been, and not always like I was some choir boy, but I've always been like in a plan. Like I say yes to the right things. I do the right things. I got a degree. I worked in corporate America, like those things. And you were always like, wanted to know the why. And it's a longer road when you want to know the why, and you don't just accept things the way they are.
Yeah.
And it's, it's a way longer road. And I've learned that. I mean, I've worked in corporate America for a long time, and then starting your own business, you have to ask the why. Why the fuck am I spending money on this? Why?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone has this employee, but why do we need that employee? Why do we need that system? As being in sales as long as I am, a good salesperson hates CRM, and CRM is customer retention management software. And basically you're just logging, I went and met with Eddie today and we talked about this, and it's just a way for your company to say, that person's earning his paycheck, he made 17 calls last week. And you don't question the why when someone else is paying for the CRM and someone else is tracking all your metrics and those things. But when you're doing it and you have a sales force and you're the one doing it, you're just like, okay, well, why? Is this going to benefit me? Or can I have meaningful enough one-on-one meetings with my sales reps that I don't need to go into some computer system to check their logs? Can we have a real conversation, build a real relationship that's built on some kind of trust and understanding? You were always just, there has to be a why. I need to know why I'm doing it, and fuck you if you won't tell me. And so it was always intriguing to me because I was always, I don't want to say a yes man, but I was always like, okay, that's just the way it is. I'm going to check the box. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go. They're going to give me a paycheck. They're going to give me a paycheck. They're going to give me benefits. It's going to be great, And so I was always fascinated with that. You had an entrepreneurial spirit long before I think you knew you were an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think, and for me, it was, I was able to go the entrepreneurial route through previous success. I didn't have to put a second mortgage on my house or borrow money from friends or do those things to roll into my own business. I had the ability because of success in the corporate world to say, I'm going to go and start this. So I think there's kind of different risk or different, skin in the game, but you always had that. And so when you would say, I think high school to military, you were kind of reckless. And then I think after the military, you had a vision, but I don't think you knew how to execute it.
Yeah.
And then I think when you took the school route, that's when I was like, okay, you're going to be serious about this. I can buy into you, make good decisions, continue networking. You've turned into a hell of a good networker. I mean,
Thanks, man.
I see what you do on socials more than we speak in person, but you've done a great job expanding your network. I know that, some of the seminars and some of the entrepreneurial things that you've sought out and wanted to go and do. There's no right way to do anything. You'll learn that. I mean, there's right ways to do small tasks and things, but as far as being successful, there's no right way to do it. You got to catch lightning in a bottle, especially nowadays with social media and the way that things go. Everybody is one great clip away from being amazing. And it's so weird. Goddamn Haley Welch, a Hawk Tuah girl, gets a street interview, and her net worth's probably $10 million now because she could tell merchandise with her stupid face on it.
Right.
I mean, the world has changed so much. And from what everybody who understands anything is saying that AI is going to change it again. It's going to create more millionaires and billionaires than the internet did,
Right.
which is wild because we're all the age where we saw the internet happen. You know,
Yeah.
we've been there since pre-internet to now, and you know, guys my dad's age have mastered social media and they're in their 70s. You know, so there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things and different ways to do things, but you know, keep trying. Like you watch, I love that James Demulin guy. Do you watch that? He does the Hard Knocks thing. He does the interviews,
Oh,
the
yeah,
millionaires.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love that kid. First of all, he's got big balls. He goes and finds some of the most successful people on the planet outside of restaurants. And he actually interviewed a friend of mine outside of Nobu in Scottsdale. And it's, you know, he
Is
waits.
it actually legit or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, my buddy was toasty. He was coming out of drinks and he had his kids with him and he's like, you know, gets into a nice car at valet. So James is like, oh, dude owns this car. He's got to have some bucks. He's eating at Nobu
Got
on a
it.
Wednesday, you know, and my buddy, and I'll leave him unnamed, but he's, you know, I know him well enough to know he's toasty, but he's always the same dude. He's just that guy.
Yeah.
He's full of energy and he gives the interview and he's like, you know, talking, he's like, you know, and humble. And he's like, dude, I got lucky. You know, my dad had this business and I saw some ways we could improve it. And like, but I love that James Demulin guy and all those entrepreneurs, what they say is like, don't get discouraged. Don't avoid debt. Like debt isn't scary. Like if you everybody who's ever been successful, if it wasn't given to them, went into debt or at least highly leveraged themselves at some point. My house is on the line, you know, my cars are on the line, whatever it is you own, like every piece of capital you have is on the line to make this deal happen.
Yeah.
And they all say that over and over again. Like an entrepreneur is a gambler to the highest degree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yesterday, one of the businesses that I'm involved with had a catastrophic piece of information hit my phone, right? And my girlfriend's looking at me like, oh God, he's going to lose it. And her daughter's watching. And I'm like, okay, no, I just need to do this. And she looked at me kind of weird. And I was like, no, look, I'm not in problem mode. I don't have time for that crap. Here's a problem. Now that it's identified, that's fantastic. Now we move on from there.
Yep.
This is the way that I need to go, this route. And her daughter was like, what? So it's not a problem? And I was like, no, there is no problem. There's just things that need to be changed. Like, kid, I don't stay in a loser mindset. I don't think that
Doesn't
way.
benefit you.
Woe is me does not happen in my world. I can go, ooh, damn it. Okay, now we fix it. And that's just, you know, I'm teaching an 8-year-old that kind of stuff because she's going to go on to do amazing things in this world as well because she's a brilliant little kid. But like the ADHD brain helps me shift real fast, you know? And so I'm just running this complex little mouse on a wheel and like I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, it's not all over. We're good. We're good. And that has led into today, like I said, fantastic. Profit margins are going to be way higher. Yep. The whole supply chain is squared. This is beautiful. Fantastic. I love it. And so, you know.
Pivot, make a decision, find a new alternative and keep going. But and you're going to see, I mean, we're 5 years in and you know, some of the things that we thought were the worst thing that could ever happen on the other side of it is like, okay, now we know how that happens. Now we know what needs to be done there. I mean, the craziest thing is, you know, we hired people to set us up and get us registered and all the business licensing and things like that. We didn't think about it. We were running out of a storage unit in Tempe for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
So then we get an office building in Scottsdale. We start setting up our warehouse, all those things. We don't have a Scottsdale business license, which means we're not eligible to pay taxes in the state of Arizona.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, like we're doing our books at the end of last year, and it's like, well, hey, we need this. We need your TPT number. We need this. We need that. And it's like, we don't have that. Like you're supposed to have that. No, we don't have that. You guys moved. You're now in Scottsdale. It requires a whole new license. It needs this. It needs that. And we're like, oh shit. Okay. And then it's like, oh well, you owe X amount of dollars. And it's not huge. I mean, it's a good amount of money. It's like, okay, so we just haven't paid our taxes for 2 years on our retail side. It's like,
right.
Oh, okay, you know, wash, rinse, repeat. Let's write the check, figure it out, get us the licensing. Okay, done. Next problem. You know, what's it going to be? Like I told you guys, I don't know if we were recording or live at the time. The biggest thing for us is deadlines. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, you guys will see with the, you know, the e-commerce side and the B2B side is, you know, people are eager to write you a check because what you're providing helps their business. Right. And that's the best thing about B2B is you're providing something and you're thinking, man, we're going to get all this, but they're thinking, oh, we're going to get these, we're going to have this, we're going to be able to go and, market to our people and give client gifts or whatever it is that we're making for them. And the biggest thing for us is deadlines, because they're sitting there waiting for this, or they have an event or they have a conference that they're going to use these items at, we're going to give away these hats, we're going to do these shirts. And we're thinking, this is a huge business with 50,000 employees or 5,000 employees or whatever it is. We're such a small check for them to write. But for the person who writes that check, that's a percentage of their budget, which is how they perform to their company. And they want to impress their bosses with the things that they purchase from us. So if you look down the line at all the things, like, for us, you can't lose sight of the fact that we need to deliver a quality product. We need to deliver it on time. If we can do those two things, we're going to get repeat business, treat people well. And you'll see that on the B2B side is they're counting on you. Hey, man, I'm going to bring in these products. They're going to help my customers. And so that's the best part about having that middle person is it's help user. When you go direct to user, it's like, I hope they like it, but you can't really spend all your time. I mean, we joke about it all the time, and I'm sure you guys have had the same conversation. I get an email every day from some company that I bought a t-shirt from in 2012. And it's like, what the fuck are you still emailing me for?
Right.
Because customer retention's impossible. That's why, when it's one customer.
Yeah.
But when you're doing B2B, I love the B2B side, because you have one person with the buying power of 5,000 people or 2,000 people. I think it's so much better. And you can develop that relationship with that one person. And the stroke of their pen is so much stronger than that one person entering their debit card on your website. Both are equally important. You can grow in two different ways, but I love having both paths, because the e-com side is fantastic. It's more fun. I like the design process of designing something that we're going to offer to the public more than I like designing something for, a construction company that's going to give, 500 polos out to somebody. But to me, the business side of delivering that with bigger numbers, it's almost more room for error too, because it's like you have a relationship with that one person. If shit goes sideways, I can call them up. Eddie, this order is not exactly what we thought. The gray isn't as gray as we wanted it, or whatever it might be. Hey, the size run got a little screwed up. Some of them are going to fit a little weird. Let's talk about that. Let's come up with a solution. We can remake the order. You're going to be waiting again, or we can talk about solutions on the next order, or whatever it is. It's almost like you get the opportunity to massage a less than perfect experience.
Yeah.
Like I told you guys, our first couple hundred e-commerce orders were from people we knew. It was all word of mouth. We weren't really pushing it. We just, hey, here's a fat discount. I know you like to play golf. We're selling golf clothes. Go and order. Let us work out the kinks. If it sucks, call me. I'll fix it. Just to get through that process. And now when you have that customer that's making these bigger orders, you develop that relationship. Something goes wrong, you're not just done. But if I see something on an Instagram ad and I order it and it comes and it's a piece of shit, I'm never ordering for that company again, because they're not going to call me and make it right. Yeah, I can return it, but lesson learned. I don't like their size, or I don't like their, fit, or whatever it might be. So
yeah. Plus, I mean, especially with that B2B side, you're having these things happen annually. And so it's not even a question anymore. Next year they go, hey, who didn't screw up that entire shirt order? My guy Jordan. Call my shirt guy. And then, B2B owners, business owners hang out with business owners. They're going to be like, oh, you need a shirt guy? Here, this is Jordan's contact.
Yep.
And that, is going to save you a ton of money in marketing and stuff like that. I mean, how much marketing are you guys doing at this point comparatively?
Virtually none. I mean, we've been so fortunate to do word of mouth. I mean, we're probably 90 to 95% of our revenue is Arizona based. And so that's why the last year or so we've really focused on expanding outside of Arizona. And we're starting to kind of see that it's a little bit different because we have more boots on the ground here. And a lot of these events, and like I told you guys, we started by working with charitable organizations where, we want to, hey, you're doing a charity golf tournament to raise money for ALS or whatever it is. Let us make you something cool. These people are going to pay $2,000 a foursome to play McCormick Ranch that they could buy. They could go play there for $80. They're going to pay $2,000 a foursome to play McCormick Ranch. Let's send them away with a kick-ass item, article of clothing or something they're going to remember. So that's kind of started to grow from there. Then we got into like corporate tournaments, and then all of a sudden we started working with a couple of different construction companies just naturally because construction guys love to play in golf tournaments. And so, get the day off and go drink beer and play golf. So we meet a few of them, started working with them. Then we started to get into safety equipment and, custom everything. And it turns out there's a huge gap in that. So many big companies are depending on these large wholesale not even manufacturers. They're just a third party. They're buying up a certain inventory of, a black shirt from a well-known manufacturer and stitching a logo on it, and they're calling that custom. And then we come out and it's like, no, you can customize everything. Yeah, the process is a little different. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but you're getting something that's truly yours. If I see a guy in a black Nike polo that says Bill's Plumbing on it, I don't think that's a nice Bill's Plumbing shirt. I think that's a nice Nike polo. But if you see something that we made, and that's uniquely theirs. They get to control the color, the pattern, the logos, the buttons. I mean, everything is completely bespoke. So training our customers is hard too, because they're just like, oh, I just want something black with my logo on it. It's not what we do. We can do that. I'll take your money, but let us show you what we can really do, because I want to make the business sticky. And also going through the design process is really cool, because once they meet with our designers and they get the opportunity to like design their own thing, they're invested before they ever write the check. They built that. It's like they're part of the design. They're part of building it and creating it. And so they want to see it come to life. They want to see it jump from the Adobe Illustrator file that we're sending them onto a shirt or onto a sweater or whatever it is. And like I said, having that control, everybody here has sat and doodled what they think the coolest shoe they could draw is. I'm sure I used to do it all the time. I thought Air Jordans are the coolest thing in the world. I was in junior high. What would my signature shoe look like when I make it to the NBA?
Right.
Like that kind of thing. You get the opportunity to do that with us. Not with shoes, but you get to do opportunity you can make literally whatever you want. The sky's the limit. I mean, we have manufacturing contracts with any kind of clothing really out there. You want to design something that's killer and you want to do it in volume. That's what we do. And you get the opportunity to live out that silly childhood fantasy when you thought you were a fashion designer in your notebook at school.
Right.
So kind of cool in that sense. It's definitely catching on, and we've done a great job. We've grown like crazy, but there's a lot to do. I mean, if we're doing 95% of our business here in the state of Arizona, we need to conquer a few other states.
Well, and most people don't realize as well, there's a huge difference between an entrepreneur and a hustler. Like a hustler's just out there looking for the next dollar. Entrepreneurs are never off the clock.
Never.
I mean, I will wake up and go like, oh God, I got to do this. Oh man. And my poor girlfriend, she's hearing me unlock my phone at 3 a.m. because I forgot to set an alarm. I had an alarm go off while you were talking and I'm like, sorry. But I mean, God bless calendars on the phone.
Take your Ritalin, it said.
Never. However, people don't understand the amount of hours that it takes to be a solid entrepreneur. And poor Brandon as well. He's a business partner in a couple different things that I'm, doing. And he's getting calls and texts all day long where I'm just like, what do you think about this idea? We have to do this or no? And he's like, dude, I don't care. And I'm like, all right, well, I just, confirmation maybe.
To be fair, half the time I don't know what he's asking me for.
I'm sure you've probably heard people talking about peptides. It piqued your interest, you looked into it, but you don't know what source to trust. A lot of this stuff is coming out of China. If you're looking for a good quality peptide that's made in the United States, go to helixpure.com.